laughed. I want to say this plainly before anything else, because I think honesty about what I did is the only way this account carries any weight at all. I laughed. I was the senior diplomatic attaché aboard the Varesh Accord delegation ship, and when the human vessel was identified on our approach to the Orreth Station summit, I laughed out loud, and the junior attachés in the forward lounge laughed with me, and I said the thing I am now embarrassed to have said, which was, "They sent that." Let me explain what I saw so you understand the laughter. The Orreth Station Summit was a high-level multilateral conference involving 7 galactic powers, and as a matter of protocol, each participating delegation was permitted to bring 1 military vessel as a prestige escort. This was understood by all parties to be the kind of thing that was not about capability but about appearance. You sent something large and correct, looking because it said the right things about how seriously you took the meeting. The Varesh Accord had sent our flagship-class heavy cruiser Meriden 600 meters of polished alloy and ceremony livery. The Orreth Conclave had sent one of their cathedral-class dreadnoughts. Even the Pelion Compact, not known for military expenditure, had managed a respectable mid-tonnage warship for the occasion. The humans had sent what appeared on our initial sensor pass to be an escort frigate, perhaps 180 meters in length. A small, compact, angular vessel with a hull that looked, I remember this specifically, because I commented on it, like it had been put together from components that had been through several previous owners. The hull plating was mismatched. There were visible weld seams. The engine array was, to be generous, modest. I said, "They sent that." And we laughed. My junior attaché, Orreth, a careful young woman who I should have listened to more often, looked at the sensor readout for a moment and said, very quietly, "The class registry says Titan-class designation, Category 7. She did not say it loudly. She said it the way careful junior officers say things when they are not sure whether they are permitted to push back. I said, "That's clearly mislabeled. Category 7s are fleet dreadnoughts. That thing is barely a long-range scout." Orreth said, "Yes, senior attaché." She closed the sensor panel. I returned to my diplomatic briefing notes. The laughter in the forward lounge settled into the comfortable satisfaction of a joke well landed. I am going to tell you precisely what happened when the human vessel arrived at its berth at Orreth Station, because precision is what this account requires. At 0914 station time, the human ship, logged in the arrival manifest as the HTN's Ardent, Registry Titan-class Category 7, diplomatic escort assignment, took its assigned berth in the outer ring of Orreth Station's diplomatic harbor. The berth was sized for a vessel up to 250 meters. The Ardent fitted comfortably. At 14:30 station time, during the first plenary session's recess, I walked the station's observation gallery with several other senior attachés from the other delegations. We were discussing, in the comfortable way of professionals between sessions, the various ships visible in the harbor through the gallery's viewports. Someone pointed out the Ardent and made a remark consistent with my own earlier observation. The senior military attaché from the Orreth Conclave, an individual named Grevtal, who had 40 years of fleet experience, looked at the Ardent for a moment and said nothing. I noticed that he said nothing, and I noted that he was looking at the ship with an expression that was not laughter. I said, "Something interesting." "Attaché Grevtal," he said. "The registration is correct." I said, "I'm sorry?" He said, "Titan-class, Category 7. The registration is correct." He paused. The Category 7 configuration was classified until approximately 8 years ago. The external hull is a low observability configuration. The mismatched plating appearance is a stealth composite. The weld seams are aesthetic. The engine array visible on the exterior is not the ship's propulsion system. I looked at the Ardent through the viewport. It sat in its berth in the outer harbor, 180 meters of compact, angular, apparently modest spacecraft, and it looked exactly as unremarkable as it had when I had laughed at it. I said, "How large is a Titan-class Category 7? Grevtal said, "The hull you're looking at is the forward sensor and diplomatic interface section. The rest of the ship is folded." He used a word I had not encountered before in any technical context, a Terran-derived concept from their theoretical physics. "The fold," I said. "Folded," he said. "The drive section and armament are in a compressed dimensional configuration. The ship does not deploy its full profile in civilian harbors. It is considered, I believe their word is, polite." He paused again. "A Category 7 Titan class, fully deployed, is approximately 4.8 kilometers in length. Its armament classification is rated at parity with a Class 1 orbital fortress." He looked at me. "They sent that." He was not laughing. I went back to the summit. I attended the remaining plenary sessions and performed my diplomatic functions correctly and professionally. At the closing ceremony, the human delegation's chief of staff, a compact, pleasant woman named Adara Voss, who had been entirely unremarkable throughout the summit in the way that I now understood was intentional, shook my hand and thanked me for the Varesh Accord's participation. I thanked her in return. I did not say anything about the ship. She smiled at me in the way people smile when they know exactly what you are not saying and have decided to find it congenial. On the departure transit, I called Fareth to my office. I told her that she had been correct about the registry and that I should have followed her observation rather than dismissing it. She said she had not been certain. She had only read the designation and thought it was worth noting. I told her that noting it had been the correct instinct and that the correct instinct should have been given more weight. She said, "The hull plating, senior attaché." When I looked at the sensor overlay, the material composition read as anomalous. I thought it might be an instrument error. I said, "It was not an instrument error." She said, "No, I know that now." I told her that in my experience, anomalous sensor readings on human vessels were very rarely instrument errors. She wrote this down. She is a careful person, and she wrote it down the way careful people write down things that will be useful later. I filed my summit report. In the section reserved for observations of note, I wrote the following. The Varesh Accord's diplomatic assessments of human military presence should be reviewed in light of the Titan-class Category 7 hull folding capability. Prior assessments may have relied on visible hull profile as a proxy for capability. This proxy is not reliable for human vessels. I did not write about the laughter. Some assessments are for the record. Some are for yourself.